So we begin with this basic topic on reliability and reliability engineering. This is necessary for power system reliability because the generic ideas and concepts which relate to reliability engineering is key to the understanding of power system reliability. The point that I have to make here is that reliability has to be quantified because it gets factored into the consequences, the risk, the safety, the maintenance, the cost implications, and so on. So if there is no quantification, then you probably cannot quantify it with respect to various other indices of interest. For example, the cost, the amount of maintenance that a system would require if it fails. And reliability has its implications in many areas, not merely just maintenance and cost, but what about safety? Safety to the people, safety to the environment, safety to the equipment, and so on. So this is a way to quantify reliability, is to assess it in terms of the probability of operational success. When a system or a component is operating, what are the chances that it would operate? हाँ बोलिए. हेलो. अच्छा अच्छा. So reliability is the probability that parts, components, products, or system will perform their design for functions without failure in specified environments for desired periods at a given confidence level. Now, this whole idea of reliability engineering probably has its roots in the world wars that happened, and to marshal all the equipments, the resources, many of them were not available, many of them were not functional, and so on. And then a lot of detailed study went into it to figure out why failures have been happening, and obviously they have to face consequences if a system is not available when it is required, or when it begins to operate, it does not operate for the length of the time that it is supposed to operate. It does not result in a mission success, and it demands a lot of maintenance, and it's not cost effective to maintain that system. Therefore, a detailed study had to be undertaken, and therefore subsequently, from the defense and nuclear and space, it moved to automobiles, and then to process industry and to process industries because there were many safety related issues, and then eventually it has come to the rest of the commercial establishment. So reliability engineering provides the theoretical and practical tools whereby the capability, probability, and capability of parts, components, equipment, products, and systems to perform their required function for desired periods of time without failure in specified environments. I was mentioning about a radar which is supposed to be used on the ground. If it is being used in the fighter aircraft, it sees a different level of vibration, and therefore the reliability requirement in terms of the operational chance of its success is not going to be the same as it would have been on the ground. So specified environments, whether it is a dusty environment, whether it is a hot environment, whether it is a humid environment, or where there's a lot of other issues related to movement or vibrations and so on, and with a desired confidence. So naturally, when you mention about reliability, which is based on a lot of samples and tests, before you can confirm that the operational success of various components. So it has to be associated with a confidence level, can be specified, predicted, designed in, tested, demonstrated, packaged, transported, stored, installed, and started up, and the performance monitored and fed back to all concerned organizations. This is about reliability engineering. So the system or the equipment does not arrive at your doorstep without being packaged, without being transported, and then when it has to be commissioned or deployed, it has to be done in a certain way by trained and experienced people. So if there are lapses anywhere, or if there are any slippages, then obviously the system and the equipment, the performance is going to be different. So but it is very important to find out what are the failure it experiences during its operational phase, and provide a feedback. You have systems operating in the field, and then you have some experience from it, and then provide a feedback to the design, provide a feedback to the quality control, provide a feedback to various other organizations, and so that the performance which has been monitored of these systems operating in the field can be used to improve the system. And therefore this idea of reliability engineering. So a more comprehensive and inclusive definition of reliability engineering provides theoretical and practical tools, to whereby the probability and capability of parts, components, equipments, products, subsystems, and systems to perform their required functions without failure. I also mentioned about a payload. For example, it has to function for probably a couple of years, maybe 5 years or 10 years before the satellite probably drifts out of its designated trajectory. So without failure for desired periods in specified environments, that is their desired optimized reliability. The specified environment, the space environment is very different for, from a different which a missile has to see, which is airborne, and the mission time is also different. It could be a minute, it could be 2 minutes, it could be a few seconds, but in space it could be several months. And then you have equipments operating in offshore platforms. They see a totally different environment, and different environmental condition, different operational condition. So so reliability is basically coming with these kind of riders and conditions. But we also know that when systems fail, they have to be maintained so that you can get maximum out of it, because buying a system, operating a system, it requires a lot of investment and money, and therefore they have to be maintained. But if maintenance is going to be expensive, so the life cycle cost of using that system is going to upset everything. It's going to prove to be too expensive to operate and maintain those kind of systems, and therefore optimized maintainability. You cannot overdo it, and you cannot underdo it. So the cost would depend upon, if the design is poor, more maintenance. If the design is robust, low maintenance. Low maintenance means low expenditure after the system is commissioned to operate in the field, and therefore the life cycle cost, probably because of low maintenance and because of long lifetimes, the life cycle cost can be low. Or you allow more failures to happen because of poor design, poor quality control, poor manufacturing processes, and so on. So more maintenance. So low investment at the early stage means more investment later on at the user side. So the manufacturer and the supplier invest little, and the user end up spending more. So, and added to that, there are competitive prices. So only those companies will be left in business will be those who know and are able to control the reliability of the products. So companies cannot afford not to take advantage of numerous applications and the benefits. Now, one of the problems with reliability is that the requirement from the user side keeps increasing. There are two issues which relate to the user. For example, the number of features that have to be packed into the system is increasing every day. You know, you had simple mobile phones, and now we have these smartphones with multiple features, with maybe millions of lines of code and hardware, software, more sophisticated. And then you have to keep the prices low, you have to increase the complexity, and yet you should experience less and less failures, although the complexity is increasing. Because you have to keep reducing the prices, because there is competition and the competition is fierce, and therefore the prices have to be kept low. You know, so uh, you have to keep cutting the margins of your profit margins and keep reduce and operate at optimum levels. So complexity, to give you an idea about the complexity and how it impacts the reliability. For example, if there are 10,000 critical components in a system, it simply means that reliability wise they are in some kind of series, and if each of them had a component had a reliability of 99.5%, that means 10% chance of failing. The system would have a 99 sorry uh, if if there are 10,000 components in series, each of them having 99.999% reliability, the system would only have 90.5% reliability. That means 10 out of 100 of them operating in the field would end up with failures. And therefore, failures means loss of productivity, and failures does not necessarily mean simply loss of money, loss of revenue and productivity. It could be a safety issue as well, because it can fail in an unsafe way. It can fail in an unsafe way, causing harm to the people, causing harm to the environment, damaging the system. It could be an explosion. How do you know about it? So it means a lot of problems. So you want less and less failures. And if 10 of them fail in the field, so that's going to be a lot of problem, you know, out of 100 of them operating. So you see this reliability, although component had reliabilities of 99.999, even though you can live up probably at some time with 90% reliability, but it's still not very high. Now, if in the years that go by, you pack in more features and therefore make the systems more complex with more components, more software. So if you use the same components, you know, you would end up with a reliability of 36.8%. And therefore, that would make life very difficult. There'll be more systems failing in the field than working, and that is not acceptable at all. And therefore, you lose a lot of revenue. You'll be edged out of the marketplace. Your market share could disappear. So, of course, it is, you know, to pack in more reliability into the system, you need a reliability engine program. You know, you need a reliability engine program which has to be necessarily driven from the top. So the reason, of course, is that the user is always demanding higher reliabilities. Although, you know, some 20 years back you could live with some failures, but today's marketplace is so competitive that you cannot afford to have failures almost at all. And to give an example of the impact of complexity on reliability, you know, if there are 100 components in series with in a system, and if you have 99.99% component reliability, you can see if the number of components increase, you can see how it impacts the reliability. It even goes to almost 0.01%, which is ridiculous. And when there are 10,000 components, it goes to 36.79%. So you cannot keep using the same components, same quality, made with same technology, same material. So obviously they have to, there has to be a continuous improvement to keep up with the competitive nature of the market. And so you have more reliability packed into the components, and which would end up giving you, even with 99.999%, that means almost 1 in a million failures. This could probably be 1 in 1 in 10,000 or 100,000 failure, you have 0.01, and this 36.79%. So this is also a kind of reliability which is not acceptable in the marketplace. So you need a reliability engine program. That means all failures are being reported in the field. They have to be fed back, and corrective actions have to be taken by various departments. It could be the design, it could be the manufacturing, it could be the quality control, it could be the material. It is sourced from various suppliers. So some corrective actions have to be taken. The root causes have to be found, and then you can keep improving, and this continuous improvement always has to take place. So all companies, just to keep pace with, if not to stay ahead of competition, have to be knowledgeable of reliability and have to implement them fully with unswerving and complete top management support. It cannot happen without top management support. It has to be driven from the top, because it doesn't come free. You need time, you need you have to commit time, you have to commit resources, and you have to commit into training. So that way you can keep ahead. So all over the world, the industry is introducing reliability practices to stay ahead of competition. So industries need to be knowledgeable and to institute reliability programs. Now you can see, many of the products and systems and components are being advertised by reliability ratings. This is the transformation that has taken place. So you will find products being advertised and being sold in the market for all kinds of important systems, especially in defense. You need to know the failure rate, mean time between failures, and reliability, and so on. So these are being also used in the advertisement, to sell their various products and systems. This practice forces the competition to know about reliability engine, to know about reliability of your own products, to find out the reliability of their own products, and to learn how to improve their failure rates, MTBFs, and reliability. So in US, for example, Department of Defense and NASA contracts contain reliability clauses and specifications. Initially it was only the defense and the space. Now it has escalated to the various commercial establishments, be it automobile or even the consumer industry or consumer sector, or of course in the process industry also, because operational times are very long, and then there are safety issues because of the material that is being handled, and therefore liabilities and consequences and risk and safety become paramount, and therefore reliability is a key issue. So our demand for higher standards and more comfortable modes of living in a complex, mechanized and automated world. Of course, automation is yet another reason which is driving higher and higher reliability in today's context. So reliability, maintainability, safety and quality are what the customers say. As users and customers, what you say about reliability is what is of relevance, not what the engineers or marketing men they say. You go to a company, there is a designer's perspective of reliability, the manufacturing, the quality control. So what the users and the customers say matters. Customer is a king. So this is what it really means to a company's success. So what do you think about reliability? What do you think about maintainability and safety and quality in terms of a survey? If you feel good about reliability, maintainability, safety and quality, you are likely to tell 8 people about it. If you have experience with a certain product, and you felt good about its reliability, safety, quality, maintainability, it is likely that you are going to tell 8 people. But when the customer is dissatisfied, 22 other people are likely to hear about it. And therefore, you need to focus on failures, why they happen, and have a corrective program, feedback, So there is this idea of an integrated reliability engine and product assurance program, right from the purchase of material, purchase of various other resources, engineering, research, development, manufacturing, quality control, inspection, testing, packaging, shipping, installation, startup, operation, field service, and performance feedback. The feedback has to go into all the departments, including the field service. The field service details have to go back into all the departments, and therefore some corrective actions can be taken wherever it is necessary so as to improve the reliability. Obtain the required data. So all the data is collated, compiled, and then you decide how long you are going to test the equipment which is being rolled out and which is being shipped. So what should be the breaking in period? How long you are going to test it, or how many of them you are going to destroy it, and what should be the warranty? What should be the period over which you should provide some warranty, and what should be the cost, the optimum preventive replacement time. So you should have a fair idea about the quality and reliability of your products, so you know that when the parts are going to fail and how much it is going to cost at the user's end. So what would be the frequency of the replacement of various key components, spare parts requirement, and the production rate and their production rate. So these are the benefits. You can figure this out, and therefore basically can provide the kind of reliability that is being looked upon in the marketplace. Study the types of failures experienced by parts, components, products, and systems, and recommend design, research, and development efforts to minimize these failures. So if you carry on the study, the field reports are being sent to the various departments, including the quality control, design, the materials, the purchase, everywhere, and they have a fair idea about why failures are happening and how corrective actions can be taken. So then reliability of these systems can improve. So the benefits are: establish what failures occur at what time in the life of the equipment and be prepared to cope with them. So, in the early stage, there could be some teething failures, and in the when it is in the operational phase, then there could be some random failures due to accumulation of certain stresses or due to change in the user profile and so on. So you have certain idea about what kind of failures can be experienced when, or when it gets old, when it has bbeen used for a relatively long period of time, then of course it is going to experience different kinds of failures. Just as in the case of a human being, when a kid is there, he has to be inoculated and vaccinated, so that there is a certain level of immunity, and eventually he grows up into a strong young boy, and then he experiences less problems, and he can obviously have problems, but that's because he broke his he broke his elbow while playing football, or he injured himself. So those are kind of random events, or maybe he was moving on his bicycle too fast on the road and then he hit a pothole, or he hit on the sides. So those could be typically random failures. And when we grow old, then you have problems because of the wearing out of various organs. You could have problems with your kidney, you could have problems with your pancreas, you could have problems with your heart, So these are all critical organs of the human body, and therefore failures can happen, because of them. So you can have some kind of maintenance plan, preventive checks to prevent these, to prevent certain disasters happening. Somebody has a heart attack. So if you follow the right kind of regime in terms of exercise, in terms of diet, and in terms of waking up and sleep cycles, you can extend your life. So, so likewise, it goes with the equipments and various systems, you know. So there is something called a bathtub curve. We'll see that later. So predict the reliability of the equipments. You'll be able to predict the reliability of the equipments and products and systems if you carry out an integrated reliability program, and indicate areas in which design changes would be most beneficial for the reliability improvement and cost reduction point of view. And at the same time, you would also be able to compare 2 or more designs for choosing the best from the reliability point of view. And sometimes failures cannot be helped. You know, in spite of all that you may do, something can happen. And therefore, there may be a scope for redundancy, keeping in mind the cost and the complexity and the sensitivity of the system, you know. So there are certain tools, as I said, to carry out reliability engineering activities. And therefore, you have failure modes, effects and criticality analysis, fault tree analysis, and various other tools, you know, which can be used to find out areas which need focus, you know, for example, in design, research and development, and study the consequences of failures as to the following. You know, obviously failures are important because they are going to indicate where the effort has to be focused in trying to improve the system performance to make it more reliable. So the consequences of failures, you know, in various ways: loss of production revenue, damage to environment and ecology, loss of resources, and so on. So then you should be able to predict the reliability, how good your systems are. You should be able to predict the reliability of your systems, because that way you can also figure out what is the kind of maintenance that it would see in its life cycle. So predict at the design stage the reliability being designed into parts and components via the stress strength interference approach, and thereby optimize the designed in reliability. So what doesn't go in is not going to be seen later, and therefore if you haven't designed it for being very reliable in the sense to see less failures when it operates, less critical failures or safety related, mission related failures or safety related failures, if it hasn't been designed for that, we are obviously going to see those failures. If we haven't used those kind of components, we haven't used those kind of robust designs, so obviously it's going to see all kinds of failure. So right from the design, purchase, packaging, in every department you need to incorporate these ideas of reliability. So determine who is responsible for the occurring failures from among the following. So if you cannot fix the responsibilities, it is nobody's baby. Something has happened. Should you blame the quality control, or should you blame the manufacturing? Should you blame the packaging, shipping, transportation? You know, so you have to carry out an analysis of failures to be able to fix the responsibility. Because if you fix the responsibility, it is going to be taken up seriously. And then you know what are the weaknesses. Is there a weakness in the design, or is there a weakness in the quality control, or is there a weakness in transportation, shipping, storage? Yeah. So guide corrective actions, decisions to minimize failures and reduce maintenance and repair time. So if you institute a reliability program, these are some advantages that would get. And then you can provide guidelines for manufacturing process and techniques, and determine whether the changes made affected the life of the equipment in the right direction and to the desired degree. So it's a continuous effort, and you know how the corrections that you have initiated are going to impact the reliability. It can provide guidelines for quality control, value engineering practices, human factors, and establish no charge and goodwill cost reduction areas. You know, sometimes you know they basically give you a lot of good goodwill among the consumers and the users. So you say that you are going to provide a warranty, or if some critical key component or key equipment fails, then you are going to replace it at no charge, or you are going to carry out maintenance without charging for the labor and only the spare parts and so on. So, uh, you know, because there have been obviously some slippages in reliability engineering because of which failures are being experienced. Failures are being experienced during its life cycle, and therefore there is some reason to say that you can establish a no charge and goodwill cost reduction area. So scientifically allocate the target product or system reliability to the subsystems all the way down to the components and parts. So a system is obviously made of various subsystems. There can be a power supply, there can be some controller, there can be some I/O interface, and so on. The actuating elements. So obviously the system reliability has to be apportioned to the subsystems and then eventually down to the components and parts, which can be, which experience failure either at the component or part level or at the subsystem level. So where to initiate corrective measures. So optimize the reliability goal. So conduct trade-off among reliability, maintainability, availability, cost. These are the trade-off studies that you can carry out. Reliability at what cost? Maintenance at what cost? Availability at what cost? Reliability means continuity of operation. Availability essentially means that you want to reduce the downtime, that it experiences. Downtime, replacement and restoration time. Maintainability means how easy is it to maintain, at what cost. So, and safety. I mean, most of the failures experienced are unsafe failures or failures which have safety issues. So you can carry out these studies if you have a proper reliability program. So you can have a product reliability growth curve, as the development design progresses and improvements happen in the quality control and the testing efforts. So there are some other advantages as well, which can relate to the best test plan, because as you get more and more feedback, what kind of tests you still need to carry out, and that the test that was being carried out earlier has not been adequate, and therefore you carry out some more tests. Probably there is problem with the materials that you purchase, or probably there is some problem with the quality control and so on. So you need to keep carrying on more tests. So there is reliability is obviously an important concern, but the ultimate performance index of a system is essentially the system effectiveness. It essentially means that when the system begins to operate, it should operate continuously, but whenever there is a demand on the system, it should be ready for operation. It should not be in a failed state. So it should be available, and when it begins to operate, it should operate correctly for the given length of time. Of course, with the given conditions, environment, and so on. So we'll see something about system effectiveness, and then probably the rest of it. Provide engineering and management inputs into all company operations from reliability point of view, and of course the documentation system, for the initiation and follow-up. There is a lot of documentation that is required. You are providing all kinds of feedback, and some corrective measures are being initiated. So what is the result of it, and is it being experienced in the field by the users? So the dealers get a feedback from the users, and therefore there has to be a proper documentation of what kind of failures happened, why it happened, what was the environment in which it was being operated, and whether there were problems in the installation, deployment, purchasing, transportation, storage, So corrective actions, appropriate corrective measures can be taken. Assure good operational reliability by proper field service and well-prepared operation and maintenance manuals. So good maintenance manuals are also required. The guys who don't have that much of training, or for example, the users, they are not expected to be experts and so on. They would go, some routine thing they would carry out. So you don't have proper maintenance manuals, obviously there is going to be some slippage, and therefore, training, manuals, everything matters. Reduce warranty costs, or for the same cost increase the length and the coverage of the warranty. Can you reduce the warranty costs? Your warranty costs are so high that it basically it offsets any advantage that you get in the profits, and therefore how do you reduce the warranty costs? Because from the supplier's point of view, the warranty costs are very important, and therefore it can tremendously decrease their profit margin. So the reliability engine studies can give you an idea about where you need to focus research and development so that the warranty costs can be reduced. Reduce inventory costs through correct prediction of spare parts requirements. So at the user's end, for example, in a commercial or an industrial sector, what kind of spare parts would be required, and and what should be the optimum spare size so that the inventory costs are minimum. And you can establish guidelines for evaluating suppliers from their product reliability point of view. So promote sales on basis of reliability indices, improve customer satisfaction and goodwill, increase profits, and so on. So the typical thinking in the industry is, we have been designing and building our products for years satisfactorily. Why this commotion about reliability? Three different answers. Because one is that you don't know how good your products are functioning, because you don't even have a reliability wise failure reporting system, not even a correct analysis, interpretation and feedback. If your products are functioning satisfactorily, it might be because they are unnecessarily over designed. So you have invested a lot of money in design, manufacturing, and and probably you don't know what should be the optimum size. Probably your warranty costs are also very high, and therefore your products, the costs to manufacture and sell can be reduced. And so if you want to do such studies, you need to initiate a reliability engine program. So systems and products can be optimally designed with acceptable component reliabilities. The fact that products are becoming more complex yearly with the addition of more components to match competition. Complexity of products should receive serious consideration in their reliability and design. I mean, just to give you a small example, I'll just try to rush through some of these slides. For example, 1935 tractor, it had 1200 critical components. So with component reliabilities of 99.99% on the average, you can say, then 88.7% would be the reliability of the farm tractors, which means that out of 1,000 tractors which are deployed or which are sold, 113 would report with some problems, failing per year, 113 per year. Now, with the same reliability, if you can see, with the same reliability of the parts and the components, because of the pressure on the complexity, the features, so more and more components being packed into the same system. So number of components increasing, in some kind of exponential way as well. So when it moves to 2900, you can see you would find 252 tractors failing per year. So it means, not merely reputation loss of revenue, but as well as very bad name and a lot of costs by way of warranty and so on. So you can see that 1935 tractor model with component reliabilities of 99.99% has 88.7% reliability, and 113 such tractors failing every year. So with 1980 model, you have 229 failing per year, and it's 77.1% reliability. So likewise, 1990 model, 252 out of 1,000 tractors would fail per year, which is even more intolerable number of failed tractors. So 25% of your tractors fail. So as the complexity increases, there is a requirement for higher reliability to be designed. Added to the complexity, the requirement from the user, from the consumer, from the customer is of an even higher reliability than we have seen. On one side, the complexity is increasing, and on the other side, the requirement on the reliability is also high, because people don't want to experience many failures, and at the same time, lower cost. So low cost, high reliability, and increased complexity. You see? For an acceptable reliability of 99%, for example, in today's context, would anybody be able to live with a reliability less than 99% in terms of products? So, and with 1,000 critical components function, at a system level, at a product level, 99.99% reliability with 1,000 critical components, you require 99.999% reliability. Then for 99% reliability, if you had only 99.99% component reliability, you cannot use more than 100 components. If you had 99.9% reliability, you cannot use more than 10% to get a 99% reliability. So you see, if the complexity increases, you need more and more reliable components and parts. So you can see, if you can live with 90% reliability, then if you can live with 90% reliability, and with 99, if you can live with if you can live with 90% product and system reliability, and you have only 10 components, then probably you can do with 99% reliability of your components and parts. But if the number of components increase, say, to 100,000, then if you want 90% reliability, if you want 90% reliability, you can see that you need components which are 99.99% reliable. Then you can live with 1,000 components which can give you a reliability of 90.48%. But if you have 100,000 components, then none of these component reliabilities would do. You would need 99.999%, because all of them would give you a very low reliability in terms of the system. So as the complexity increases, you need more and more reliability. So to give you a fair idea about some complex systems, for example, the Boeing 747 jumbo jet has 4.5 million parts, including fasteners. So you can see how many of them could be critical. If not all of them are critical, still it could be, even if 1/10 of them is critical, is a fairly high number. And for example, look at 1964 Mariner Mars spacecraft. It depended on the successful and operation and survival of 138,000 components for a minimum of 9 months in space. So that was 1964. Today is 2020. So you can imagine the complexity in terms of the number of critical components, and in terms of the reliability requirement of those components to provide a mission which could last not merely months, but for years. So what should be the level of reliability that should be designed, manufactured, and maintained into a product? Now, we have still not examined the cost implication to the producer and the customer. We can say that you improve your design, you buy better materials, you have more investment in quality control, inspection, packaging, transportation, storage, and so on. So that's going to add to the cost to the producer. And from the customer's point of view, the operational costs, the spare parts, maintenance costs, downtime costs, and so on. So if we have to look in at all of it, we need to have to come to an agreement, to a kind of trade-off. If the producer spends a lot of money, the customer would have to spend less money during the life cycle of the product. If the producer doesn't spend much money, invest more money, the customer would end up spending more money in terms of maintenance and operation. So, so for every product, there is a certain reliability for a given maintenance policy and schedule at which the total cost of the product to the manufacturer or producer is minimum. This is the optimum reliability level. There is also a certain reliability for a given maintenance policy and schedule. So we have to look at reliability also from the point of maintenance policy and schedule. You just have a corrective maintenance program, you can live with a certain reliability, and and the cost implications would be very high. So the impact of having preventive maintenance, predictive maintenance on the system, and what would be the total life cycle cost to own, operate, and use the system, is going to be different. So optimization of reliability is very important, both from the producers as well as from the customer's point of view. The total cost to the producer consists of the sum of before shipment and after shipment costs. The before shipment costs include engineering, research, development, manufacturing, and overheads. After shipment, shipping, transportation, installation, startup, warranty, goodwill, which may include the cost of returned products, cost of products failed because of user error but replaced by the manufacturer for goodwill purposes, cost of loss of market share, cost of lost customers, etc. So you have this is the producer's cost. This is the producer's cost. Low reliability, the producer's cost after shipment. The producer's cost, the producer's cost before shipment and after shipment. There are two different curves. So before shipment means you invest. Before shipment means, for example, you spend you design it for lower reliability. You don't invest money in quality control, manufacturing, purchase of right material, so you'll end up providing low reliability. And then you need to invest more money, so you'd be able to provide higher reliability, but at a higher cost. So this is the producer cost before shipment, and then there's a producer's cost after shipment. So you would have to provide much less maintenance. For example, if the products that you rolled out was very reliable, so you have invested a lot of money in before shipment, and therefore you experience less failures. So low cost after shipment with high reliability. And if the reliability is low, the cost is very high after shipment, because you need to provide for warranty, repairs, maintenance, and so on. So this is a producer cost after shipment, and this is a producer's cost before shipment. So this is a producer's total cost, and therefore this is the producer's selling price with a profit margin, and therefore you can see there is an optimal reliability. If you invest too much of money also in design development, you will lose some money. Of course, you provide higher reliability and low investment after shipment, but still you probably invested too much and you went in for an overkill. And if you invested too much of money in after shipment because you did not invest too much of money before shipment, then probably this is also going to prove to be more expensive, at the end of it. So there is optimal reliability at which you can design, manufacture, and sell. So this is the optimal reliability cost-wise. So you don't want to go in for a reliability lower than that, because then it would mean higher cost before shipment, and it would mean higher cost after shipment, and you don't want to design it for produce it for a higher reliability, because it would mean a higher investment before shipment, and therefore there is an optimal reliability. So the before shipment costs increase as the design and reliability increases, because better and more intense engineering, research and development, more redundancy, and better manufacturing quality control, and so on. After shipment costs decrease with increasing design and reliability because of fewer failures, and consequently because fewer service and repair actions. So the sum of these two costs and add the profit, and that gives you the price at which you can sell. It may be seen that reliability is either lower or higher than the optimum, result in higher total cost to the producer. Consequently, designing a product to a higher or lower reliability than the optimum would not be wise. The total cost of a product to a consumer. Now let's look at it from the consumer side. Is not merely the initial purchase price, but also the maintenance, spare parts, components, repair, downtime, operating, and support costs for the life of the product. These additional costs decrease as the design and reliability increases. So if the producer has invested a lot of money in its, after shipment and before shipment, the right amount, and so obviously would experience less failures. So from users or a consumer's point of view, you would experience fewer failures, low repair and maintenance. So to give you a correct picture, this is the customer support cost. Customer support cost. This is the initial purchase price. This is the initial purchase price, and this is a customer support cost. At higher reliability, you would spend low money. From your point of view, you would spend less on the operation and the maintenance. But for a lower reliability, you would provide a higher support cost. So if this is the purchase price, which is the producer's selling, the producer's selling price, then you add these two and you get a customer's total cost. So there is these two reliability. This is the optimum. This is the optimum reliability from the customer's point of view, and this is the optimum reliability from the producer's point of view. These two do not necessarily have to be the same. So reliability is higher or lower than the optimum, result in higher total product cost. You are looking at the life cycle, operational life cycle of the component of the system. Now, these costs also from the user's point of view is related to the specific maintenance policy and schedule. For example, if you adopted a particular maintenance policy, this would be the curve, the user's curve. For example, if you adopted a less frequent maintenance, so you invest less money on maintenance and support, so you would get a different curve. So likewise, you have a family of curves, and then you can join all the optimal points, and then this would be the right maintenance policy and schedule to be deployed on those product and system, so that you get total cost optimization from the maintainability perspective. So optimization of reliability is very important, and for that you need to deploy an integrated reliability program. It means all the departments are providing feedbacks. The field is going to provide feedback to the design. The design also, some corrections have been made. So if there is a kind of complete collaboration and cooperation amongst the various departments. They cooperate with each other and they provide the right kind of feedback. So you would be able to achieve kind of global optimum, integrated optimum, for the product or the system which is being manufactured. So this is a conventional reliability engineering effort. It means that you have a quality control department, you have a purchase department, and you have a field service. So you have individual departments, but not cooperating, integrating all their efforts and providing right feedback. Therefore, this optimal curve, the cost reliability curve, is due to conventional engineering. And if you have an integrated approach to deploying reliability engineering program, then you would have this reliability can be improved at a lower cost. You want to improve the reliability and to achieve a lower cost as well. So these two things might appear to be conflicting, but if you move from conventional reliability engineering to an integrated reliability and maintainability program, you can achieve a higher reliability and at a lower cost as well. So specific elements in the company's engineering, development and testing, research, manufacturing, quality control, inspection, testing, packaging, shipping, purchasing, sales, field service department, fully supported by company management, full support by company management, ensure that all of the reliability and maintainability requirements are attained and maintained. Well, what the quality does, if it is nobody's business, what the designer does, it is nobody else's business. Then, the advantages of this cross-pollination does not happen, and therefore you do not achieve a higher reliability at a lower cost. So an aggressive integrated reliability and maintainability efforts in a simpler, improved, more reliable, more maintainable, and less costly product through the following measures. Reduction of the number of components. Integrated program would lead to the following: better arrangements, better selection of material, proper selection of stress strain and stress time relation, use of right kind of tools, implementation of design, manufacturing, reliability, maintainability checklists to catch design errors, trigger design improvements leading to optimized reliability and maintainability, use of application and benefits of reliability. Okay, so those reliability that you have seen, you want to achieve is a kind of target reliability. Yeah. The target to which everybody has to work towards. So we'll break now. We already passed, and we'll break for we'll break